Hello and welcome back to the Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
Guys, I want to start off this episode by giving a huge shout out to everybody that listened to us through Spotify specifically, because we received our Spotify Wrap for this year and the numbers were absolutely amazing, man. It floored us just seeing how much support, how much we've grown over the past year. Thanks to all of you guys that watch us on Spotify, or even the rest of you that are on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever it might be. The growth has been incredible, and Spotify Wrap kind of just represents that in a nutshell for us. So getting to see those numbers meant a lot to us and me specifically, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. So let's keep talking football. I'm so grateful for the audience that we have created so far in the past 2 years, and I can't wait for this upcoming 2024 because it's going to be a massive, massive year with the Copa America, the Euros, and potentially more Soltero appearances over time. We have a big 2024 planned, and I just want to say, let's fucking go, but also thank you guys.
That was perfect, man. I have nothing. That was like beautiful. If I add anything to that, man, that degrades it, bro.
Perfect. Let's start with Champions League football, man. Let's start with Champions League football because we're now in round 5 of the group stage, where we are kind of almost starting to see, the definitive results of what we projected early on in this Champions League season. And instead of starting with the typical headlines or the biggest news stories so far, why don't I acknowledge the less meaningful results that we saw this week in the Champions League? For example, Arsenal just mollywhopping Lens 6-0, bro. 6. Low-key, it was the most important game today in terms of what was at stake. Lens had an opportunity to solidify themselves in second place, or at least challenge PSV Eindhoven for that second place spot, but after this showing, man, the Farmers League was in full effect, and Lens ends up losing 6-0 away from home.
Yeah, this always happens, I feel like, every single year when a team goes into the last 2 match days with a lot of vigor and a lot of hope that they can solidify at least a second place position, and then they really falter. They really stumble before the finish line, and Lens is just one of those teams. It's so unfortunate because when you look at that reverse fixture, Lens played a near perfect match against Arsenal, but going to England when the pressure's really on for a club like Lens, this is where it gets really tough. And they showed that they just couldn't quite do it. Yeah, man, it sucks. But I remember I kind of hinted that something like this would happen because I was afraid of how Lens would perform in the Champions League overall. I was proud of how they started off those first 4 games. The fact they're even competitive right now for a knockout stage appearance is really surprising because I thought at most they would be a Europa League position, but they were competitive and they were good. But with this result here, it's about to get a lot more difficult. But they are set to face off against Sevilla, I believe, and what's going to be a Europa League clash. Winner gets the Europa League, and we know that Sevilla loves having that position, and we'll see what they end up doing with it. So that's what they have to look forward to. But still, 6-0 loss. A 6-0 loss hurts no matter what, bro. On the flip side, Sevilla was up 2-0 against PSV. And then CONCACAF's very own Ricardo Pepi ends up giving PSV a 3-2 lead in the 92nd minute of the match to win the goddamn game. A big moment for CONCACAF player because up until this point, CONCACAF was not looking good in the Champions League with Santi Jimenez scoring an own goal. CONCACAF needed somebody to step up, and luckily it was Ricardo Pepi who had an amazing header to give PSV the game-winning goal here. But another meaningless result that was still kind of fucking crazy was Benfica versus Inter Milan, with Benfica playing at home on 0 points, bro. 0. A terrible season they've had in the Champions League so far. Campaign. And João Mario took that personally, man, because he had himself a hat trick within 30 minutes in this match. Benfica goes up 3-0 against last year's runners-up in the Champions League. But then you just fast forward one more half. Inter Milan subs in their A-team players, and you see Inter led by Arnautovic, led by Alexis Sanchez, Marcus Thuram, and then Lautaro Martinez, who came in to tie the match 3-3. Crazy ass result, crazy ass comeback, and just a crazy moment to see this week in the Champions League so far. But overall meaningless because Inter already has qualified for the knockout stages. Yeah, damn. Did not catch this game, but no surprise really, because Inter Milan have had a really good season in Serie A. So for them to even put on their best players against Benfica, not really surprised here. 3-3, honestly, great result.
Yeah, and so with that, I think that sums up what I would consider meaningless results in the Champions League so far. Let's talk about those games that meant a lot, and more specifically, let's look at the group of death, Group F, which has 4 really solid teams still vying for those knockout stages. But I want to know, which game do you want to go with here to start off about talking about? Because we have Newcastle United versus PSG or Dortmund versus AC Milan.
I actually want to talk about Dortmund against AC Milan. Milan hosting Dortmund, who Dortmund themselves have had an excellent campaign in Europe up into this match. Milan showing signs of greatness, but that's it, just signs of it. They haven't been able to manage a full 90 minutes in any game this season in the UEFA Champions League. So I was really curious going into this match. At home, could Milan finally figure this out and get a really, really good result against Dortmund? This game ended up starting crazy, and both teams just going back and forth. There was a lot of space to exploit. What settled down this game was 2 penalty calls. One for Milan to start. Giroud steps up, gets blocked. And then on the other end, Bino Gittins takes on Calabria, gets fouled in the box. But then this time, Marco Reus steps up and he slots it home beautifully. Dortmund take a nice 1-0 lead at this moment.
Yeah, big moment for them. Marco Reus stepping up and pushing Dortmund to get a 1-0 advantage away from home. And once again, in that moment, I was just questioning, Jesus Christ, what am I missing here? Because Dortmund is performing like something else when it comes to Europe, bro.
Yeah,
they really are. And I want to continue talking about this game because I got something to say at the very end.
The problem with Milan, and it really became apparent in this match, is they essentially don't have any midfield presence. You have Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Yacine Adli. Adli's a good player, but he's not a dominant force in the midfield. And you can basically say the same thing about Loftus-Cheek. The problem with Loftus-Cheek is he's asked to do everything. Be very good on the defensive end, but also try to create from a midfield perspective offensively for Milan. And he's really not that good offensively. He gets in really good positions. He actually had a really good moment where he was found by Christian Pulisic out on the left wing, but he had a couple of heavy touches and the chance just basically faltered. So that's what you get with Milan in the midfield. Not a lot of creativity. And then when you look up top, you have a really good guy in Olivier Giroud and Pulisic, who's very good in moments as well. And then you also have Samuel Chukwueze, who had an excellent goal. But it's all kind of luxury. Mm-hmm. None of it's dominant for 90 minutes or even like 45 minutes. It's just kind of there. What they're really missing is the focal point, Rafael Leao. Mm-hmm. And it's super apparent when he's missing because they don't really have a go-to guy, a target man in that front three, and they just kind of look lost when they go forward. And then when you look at their opponents, Dortmund just have a game plan, man.
Yeah, man.
They have an excellent game plan. Very good midfielders who are very experienced in Marco Reus and Emre Can. And then when you look up top, there's a lot of different options to penetrate a team like Milan with Bino Gittins.
Adeyemi.
Bino Gittins, Adeyemi, Dalen Malen. Mm-hmm. There's so much going forward for Dortmund. Even if they're not completely on it on the day, they just have a lot more options than their opponents in Milan. And honestly, you could say that about Newcastle and PSG when you compare them to Dortmund. So that's why Dortmund's having such a great campaign. They really are just overall the better team in this group.
Yeah, isn't that crazy, man? A group with so many stars, so many big names. It does prove a point that in football, it's about the 11 players that you can bring together to form chemistry, and Dortmund does have that. They really do. And I think I, as well as a lot of people on Twitter, as well as a lot of football pundits, overlooked that completely, man, because Borussia Dortmund's proven a lot of people wrong, man. Topping the group and already qualifying for the knockout stages in first place with 10 points. I'm going to look into the camera here, and I'm going to officially do my Reynoso apology. Folks, I am...
Entschuldigung.
I think that's sorry in German, folks. I am, one more time.
Entschuldigung.
I'm sorry. I really am sorry because I harped on this team really, really hard. I thought the mental toll of what they went through last year would play an effect. I thought their coach, Terzic, was a little questionable in those big moments last year. And I thought that would translate over to being drawn into one of the toughest groups in the Champions League stages. I saw them as last place, dude. I really did. But here they are, proving me wrong, getting first place and hopefully being able to craft up some sort of magic. I'm still going to predict that they don't make it past the round of 16.
Yeah.
But I think for now, they deserve their credit for even making it out of this group when a lot of people doubted them.
Dude, I'm with you. I completely doubted this team going into this season. But, dude, they picked apart Milan in that second half. Picked them apart in the San Siro. It was just, honestly, night and day the difference between the two teams. Dortmund easily the best team in this group.
And two guys I want to highlight from this game. First off, Mats Hummels, bro.
Yeah.
What a performance, man. Really good to see him on a good day like that. It shows why he's still able to hold a really important role at a big club like Dortmund versus, a lot of these guys that are his age tend to go towards smaller teams or smaller clubs now because they can't handle that responsibility. But Mats Hummels, when he's on it like this, bro, he looked relentless against AC Milan. And I thought he was huge in that back line for them.
Huge, man. Christian Pulisic or Chukwueze, while they had a lot of decent moments, they really couldn't break into the heart of Dortmund's defense, and it's because of Mats Hummels. Every time there was a chance to do so, he completely cut everything out, man. Yeah, an incredible performance from Hummels.
Yeah, and then on the other side, man, you don't feel that Mike Maignan could have done more on those goals that he conceded, bro? There was two that I thought he was a little slow on, especially the one against Adeyemi, where he decided to guess before the shot was taken. Shot goes straight down the middle, but he just assumed it would go to his left side, and so he found himself in trouble and conceding what I thought was a really simple save.
Yeah, it was ferociously hit, though. Adeyemi put some purchase on that shot, and Maignan couldn't handle it. He ultimately couldn't handle it. So I definitely would blame him, but not 100% because the shot had a lot of venom.
Yeah. And
it really did.
Yeah, it did. I'm saying the top keepers, I don't see them concede that type of goal. I don't see them like that.
True.
And then following after what was the second goal, I think Bino Giddens, it was a very accurately placed ball, but it wasn't a lot of speed on it, bro. And even then, Mike Maignan was a little slow to get there, and I think he overstepped towards the opposite way, which put him in a really bad position, and once again, conceded another goal. And so I think that the position for France's goalkeeper cannot be more open right now, because I don't think Mike Maignan has done the most to prove that he deserves that spot. I know Samba is getting some shouts with Lens. I wonder if conceding 6 to Arsenal will play any sort of factor there. But I think it's pretty open right now. And yes, he is the front runner, but man, for the quality that France has everywhere else, I don't really think they have that quality at back.
This was probably the worst performance I've seen Maignan. I will say on those 2 goals, he definitely looked very hesitant on his positioning. But even then, just one really bad performance, I'll allow it. I still think Maignan's probably the best French keeper right now.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on him now.
And we're going to go over to France where PSG faced off against Newcastle United. I mean, bro, the story here is that penalty call.
Yeah.
What'd you think about it? What'd you think about it, man?
When I first saw it, I was like, that's not a penalty.
Yeah.
It's just not a penalty. And even when I replayed it, I'm like, it's harsh. It's really incredibly harsh.
Would you say rigged?
Would you say
robbed?
Like, are we really surprised though that it was called? Are we?
I think so, because
given today's
Marciniak is like the best ref in the world right now. He was so good in that FIFA World Cup final. I thought he would have it in him to see that video assisted replay motion and then be like, oh, okay, hits the body, then hits the hand. Obviously not a penalty here. But I think I'm just saying, I'm not usually a conspiracy theorist here, but I think there's some foul play.
Yeah, this gets so tricky, because isn't the idea nowadays, especially this year, FIFA has made a point to say it's handball, no intention taken into account. Whether there is any sort of context, they try to eliminate context, and if it hits the hand, they call penalty.
Of context away, man.
They took it completely away. So because of that, I'm not fully surprised that it gets called. I'm not. Now again, it's compulsive. It's so harsh on Newcastle, especially because they were just defending for their lives up until that moment, stoppage time concession of a penalty, and to concede it in that manner sucks, man. There's nothing else I can say.
Is it the wrong call, though?
I don't think so, given the climate of how handballs are called nowadays, especially this year. If this was last year, I'd be seething.
Yeah.
I'd be seething, bro.
Yeah.
But this year specifically, I'm not surprised.
I'm just saying, I don't know. We saw a very similar play, I think, in the Lens Arsenal game today. So I think people are confused then. We don't understand what is a penalty, what isn't a penalty, bro, because going into that call, I thought it wasn't going to be one based off of what I've seen so far. Yes, I get it in that sense that the context has changed a lot now, but I still need more clarification personally to really understand what the call is going to be. I mean, the fact I had to go to VAR, the fact Marciniak had to decide in the moment, I think kind of shows that even FIFA itself doesn't really know what their position is. They're just going to go on hand-to-hand basis.
I think that's what this is. Yeah, so if you take it that way, this is super frustrating because there really isn't any consistency. And I think the problem here really isn't the ref. I don't think it's the call itself. It's just how it's handled. Like you said, it's play to play, and it can't be like that if we want any sort of consistency. The way I would prefer it is you do include context. Clearly, it hits his torso first and then slightly bounces toward his arm that is in no unnatural position. So because of that, if you look at it like that, should not be a penalty.
PSG ties it with Mbappe, who right now I think he ain't missing a pen in the 90-plus minute, bro. Like, he's not missing. He's drilling it. PSG ties the game 1-1, and Newcastle finds himself in a little bit of trouble now because had they won this match, they would have positioned themselves, I think, firmly in second place with the advantage going into the last match. But now they're in third place with 5 points. AC Milan right behind them with 5 points as well, and PSG is in second with 7. So now either Newcastle or AC Milan have to win their matches to have a chance at qualifying, but then again, they also have to hope that PSG doesn't beat Dortmund. I think PSG has the advantage going into this final 6th match, but it is pretty crazy that at the end of the day, there still is a chance for every single team in this group to qualify out.
For sure, but just to go kind of back on the game for PSG's perspective, dude, how many chances did they realistically have? So many.
Barcola, bro.
Yeah,
I ain't sold on the kid, man.
Yeah.
4 clear chances that he just completely... I didn't like his decision making. I don't like how he approached each opportunity. Scuffed him, bro.
I would say half of them he definitely scuffed. The other chances, I thought Nick Pope had a really good game, though, in between the sticks. But even then, like, Dembele... what really has changed there for him, so continually wasteful, but then at the very same time, so penetrative, so dynamic offensively, he still can create these chances that no other winger can. It's just up to him to whether is he going to finish the chance or not.
What did you catch? What was the Dembele eclipse just last week, bro? He finally got his first goal in the league. Fucking finally, dude. And it was a beauty, bro. Mm-hmm. An absolute highlight of a goal. Brings the ball down in motion and then finishes it off by rifling it into the back of the net. I literally screamed when I saw the goal in real time because the class, the quality, the talent was so high. But then I looked at how many goals he has all season, and it was his first fucking goal. It's an eclipse. It's rare. It doesn't happen.
There's so many non-clinical players on this PSG side, and even Mbappe is a little bit out of form considering the heights that he has reached earlier on in his career. Yeah. So when you look at it that way, PSG is just super frustrating to watch because if you really think about it, they should have won this game probably like 2-1, maybe even 3-1 if they were really, really on it. But that's PSG's circumstance right now. It's a lot of good play, but just really ultimately nothing to show for.
And speaking of nothing to show for, man, this is how the Feyenoord experience ends right here, brother. This is how it ends with Diego Simeone coaching his 100th Champions League appearance, by the way. Congratulations to him. And Atletico Madrid getting a big victory in the Netherlands, taking care of business. Riquelme winning player of the match. Good to see the youngin do that.
Dude, he had probably one of his best performances that I've ever seen him in an Atleti shirt. Mm-hmm. Riquelme was phenomenal as our wingback. Ridiculous.
No, beautiful to see. Santi, should I say disaster class here? Had a tough game. He had a tough game.
Dude, I mean, offensively... it seemed like he had maybe 2 touches the entire match, and then a crazy glancing own goal from him. Yeah. Crazy. I'm not going to fully put the blame on him because I know what he's trying to do, trying to glance it over to the bar. But my God, it just doesn't look good considering how poorly it played up until that point.
Yeah, and what they needed in that very moment, you need him to do that on the other side of the net. Or the other side of the field, bro.
Yeah, because they had just gotten the goal back to make it 2-1.
That's what made it worse.
Feyenoord got really hyped. The team, the players on the bench, and then the entire crowd, they're like, oh, we have a chance here. Mm-hmm. And then it got completely undone 3 minutes later. Mm-hmm. It was really, really bad. And then to start off the match, a crazy own goal. Axel Witsel goes towards the ball, pulls out, and Gertruida doesn't know what to do, and the ball just lands on his lap, and then it rolls into the back of the net. Crazy way to start. And then before that instance, Alvaro Morata with a one-on-one, and you just play any clip of my take on Alvaro Morata, and that sums up that chance right there. So frustrating, bro. But I mean, he had a decent game beyond that.
Yeah.
One other player I do want to highlight, and I'll be highlighting him every Atleti match, and Antoine Griezmann. Everything he touched in this match turned to gold.
Dude, everything.
Ridiculous performance from Griezmann. It is to the point where I want to make this very clear, and I will keep making it clear. He is must-watch television in the world of football.
I think so.
No,
I think so, bro.
If you watch Atletico,
why I'm watching Atletico so much this year, bro.
If you watch them play and you watch Antoine Griezmann, you will be entertained. Dude, he had an incredible match. 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely incredible performance in just every single game so far in the Champions League. I mean, Atletico is undefeated, bro. 5 games in, 3 wins, 2 losses. They will probably win this group. Right now, they're on 11 points. Lazio in second with 10. Feyenoord officially out with only 6 points. But I do think my takeaway after watching this Feyenoord team throughout this whole Champions League appearance was they're a Europa League side. This is a Europa League side right now. Will they be able to make a deep run there? I think that'll be interesting to see. But for now, I think that's their level. That's their quality. And they did the most they could in the Champions League here. And I wish them the best of luck in the Europa League. But for now, Atletico, I really want to pose this question. I really want you to think about this. I think they're a top 4 team in the Champions League now.
I think so.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear too. They're one of the more organized football teams in Europe, and they just have a little bit of an unknown factor with Antoine Griezmann. They really do. And then you add in these players that are just fresh into the team, and they add complete X factors too, and Riquelme and Samuel Lino as well. Everyone else is in form right now. Atletico look really, really good going to the knockout stage.
Yeah. The record that Simeone has bringing this team into the knockout stages, I think, is ridiculous. And then also just everything he's been able to do with that Atleti badge in his name has been incredible so far. And this Atleti team this year is looking so freaking interesting, man, because I think they're exceeding the expectations we had for them at the very beginning. And they're looking better and better every single week. Very exciting football. If Griezmann can continue producing at this rate, if Morata can stay consistent in front of goal, Atletico is positioning themselves as a must-watch team, but just an overall interesting team in this tournament. I was thinking about something though, bro. I want to see a Man City Atleti matchup. I think that'd be fascinating football right now. Like that's the number 1 matchup I want to see in the knockout stages.
That,
I know you don't.
I don't want to.
I know, but out of straight not having a horse in the race perspective that I have, I want to see them play Man City right now because this Atleti team could provide to be a really tough opponent for Pep Guardiola's Man City this year.
Yeah, and I really do think the reason is Antoine Griezmann. You look back at what made Atletico so successful in their last Champions League final run back in 2016. It was Antoine Griezmann. He was virtually unstoppable, whether on the ball or off the run. He's a lot more on the ball in this version of him back at Atletico in 2023, but he's just as impactful. If you look at all of the good plays that happened, somehow, some way, it was either started or finished by Antoine Griezmann. And that's the impact that he's having right now with Atleti because you watch them play and he's kind of like the glue that combines, that connects the defense to the midfield or the defense to the wings or the wings to Alvaro Morata. It is Antoine Griezmann. The 1-2 touches that they had in this game against Feyenoord, that's the type of football that Griezmann can play. And honestly, not a lot of players can match up to his efficiency in 1-2 touch football. That's why it's working really well for Atletico because, you try to press Griezmann, he's going to find a way around you.
Also, he doesn't get injured a lot, man.
No.
Yeah, his injury record is really good.
That's fantastic. He's never been an injury-prone player.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Congrats, bro. I must be really excited, man. That's really nice.
Really exciting. But just to say one last thing about Feyenoord, because I do think they're a Europa League team, but man, they showed such good signs where they really matched up to their opponent, whether it was Atletico or Lazio, and honestly, in some occasions, even rose above them. But they just couldn't manage 90 minutes. The whole first 30, even 40 minutes of this match specifically, Feyenoord looked super nervous. They had a lot of possession, but Atletico looked pretty comfortable to just kind of let them come at them because Feyenoord didn't have any inventive ideas. They had a lot of pace, especially with Minte, who had some electric moments in that first half, but none of it really meant anything. So there's a lot of good stuff for Feyenoord, but they just need to kind of shore themselves up, be a lot more confident in themselves, whether it's in midfield possession or try to get a little bit more creative, whether it's through Minte or Igor Paixão, maybe get Santi Giménez more involved. I think Feyenoord can become a better team, but yeah, they're just a little inconsistent, and I think that's why they're going to end up maybe in the Europa League at best.
Yeah, they what they do have, though, in my opinion, is the best Dutch atmosphere out of these clubs, man.
Dude,
I think out of Ajax, out of PSV, Feyenoord's atmosphere is incredible, man.
Dude, I love that red tint that lights up the middle section of the stadium. It looks kind of ominous, but it's just cool because the stadium's fucking packed.
It's always packed. People are always standing, and the lighting is so stark that it makes it look like we're playing a match inside of like a castle, bro. It's very compact. It's very tight, and I just love that because you can tell everyone is just keyed on the fucking game, and that's all they care about is the fucking ball, where it's at, and where the teams are at because they're so focused on the match. And I love that atmosphere. You can feel the tension, and maybe that translated itself into this match against Atletico. But overall, I love their atmosphere so much so that I hope to see them back in the Champions League next year. And there is that opportunity because right now they're in second place, right behind PSV, but they still are title contenders in the Netherlands. So here's to Feyenoord potentially coming back. But for now, they're going to the Europa League. And just to make a connection here between Atletico Madrid, we also had Joao Felix's Barcelona face off against FC Porto, and what was at the moment an important match because Barcelona was looking for a result here to kind of secure themselves into the knockout stages. They ultimately ended up winning 2-1 after going down 1-0. This was the game of Joao Felix and Joao Cancelo getting on the board here. Both Portuguese men scoring some really, really solid goals. But really, bro, I just want to get this conversation on camera because we've talked about it off camera already. But Gavi, out for 8 to 10 months, man. Brutal injury to experience for Barcelona. And even though they've already qualified for the knockout stages, Gavi himself has never seen Barcelona or never played for Barcelona in a knockout stage match. This would have been his opportunity, and we won't be able to see him for the next basically year.
It's so harsh. It's just so unfortunate. It's the name of the game, these injuries sometimes, but my God, man, like Gavi might be a little injury prone, to be honest. Gavi, Pedri just seem to always have these fits of injury. Obviously, it's not their fault, but it just sucks. Because, I mean, we haven't seen a full season of Gavi. We haven't seen even a full season of Pedri. And Gavi is supposed to be the next big thing for Barcelona. He already kind of is. But if he's not playing in knockout stages for Barcelona and he's not getting those reps, he's not getting those minutes, it just sucks. It completely sucks for him, for Barcelona, for the fans, because you need him. He's an excellent player who can switch the ball, so good in distribution, but it just sucks because there's nothing he can do. And he's out for a long time,
dude, a long time. And I just feel like Barcelona for the past 2 years, bro, they've endured so many injuries, bro. So many. It just does not stop for them. But I mean, they got to figure it out because they're going to go into these knockout stages. And I think overall, from what I've seen from Barcelona so far, I don't think they'll go deep in this tournament. I'm sorry, Barca fans, but I really don't think I see a semifinal team for sure. Quarterfinals, I would say, is their absolute max if things go well for them.
Yeah, I don't see semifinals at all. I would say 0% chance for this Barcelona team. Quarters, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. But FC Porto and Shakhtar Donetsk will be fighting it off for the final second place in what will be a really exciting match because that is who faces each other in round 6 while Barcelona faces off against Antwerp. So that'll be a game to keep an eye on. FC Porto versus Shakhtar for second place.
That'll be a fun one.
Game of the week, though, has to go over to Manchester United versus Galatasaray. A 3-3 shootout in Turkey. Crazy match, starting off with Garnacho scoring once again. I said last episode that the bicycle kick goal that he scored is going to infuse him with so much confidence, and it's showing. Scoring a banger of a goal once again to give Manchester United the lead. Bruno follows it up with another insane banger of a goal, but Hakim Ziyech said he would not let this game die. He just wouldn't. Back-to-back free kick goals despite the crazy mistakes we saw from Onana in this match once again. McTominay scores a third goal to give Manchester United the lead, but the game finishes off with Artugalu tying the match with another fucking golazo. 3-3. Galatasaray goes undefeated against Manchester United in the Champions League. They get overall a really important result here, tying the match. And for Manchester United themselves, I saw an insane stat. Manchester United are now the third top scorers in the Champions League and are fourth in their group.
Oh my God.
That's an insane stat, dude.
Wow. Has that ever happened? Like where they're top three in offense and just basically don't qualify.
Yeah. I think they've conceded the most goals, though, in all of the tournaments so far.
That's ridiculous. But I really like Aktürkoğlu, by the way. I just want to put that out there. He's fun, really good. And I'm just surprised he doesn't start more often, I'll be honest. But excellent goal from him. But yeah, for Manchester United, I guess they just can't fully figure it out on this end for the Champions League run, man, because it's just non-stop concessions, even when they play, pretty good for large portions of the match.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be able to pull it off this time. They were up 2-0
so
at one point. I thought it was going to happen. But now, dude, it's going to be really difficult. They face off against Bayern Munich at home, luckily, but it's fucking Bayern, who does not lose group stage matches. They do not lose it. And meanwhile, Copenhagen tied Bayern, so they got an extra point there, and they'll be facing off against Galatasaray in what will be a must-see match, in my opinion. So for Manchester United, this is... I think this is disappointing because it's basically Bayern and three teams that are just fighting for who can be the worst one here. And the fact that it's Manchester United goes to show all the criticisms we've had of them this entire season, but also the lack of production we're seeing given the quality that they have, bro. They should be much, much better overall.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Premier League performances, this does kind of make sense because they're just, in these type of moments, in these high-pressure situations, very disorganized, very unfocused. And I think in that regard, complete credit to Galatasaray and Copenhagen because they've been the opposite. They don't necessarily have the exact same quality, but they've been very driven, very focused, and have put on some really good performances in this group. So what do you get? You get this crazy finish to this group, bro.
Crazy finish, man. I want to see who's playing at home. Okay, yeah, it's Copenhagen playing at home, hosting Galatasaray. I'm going to go for Galatasaray. I was on them ever since the transfer window when I saw the signings they made. Really interesting players overall that they're bringing together. But I want to see them get into the knockout stages for the first time in a long time with a guy like Wilfried Zaha on this team who made the move from a mid-table Premier League team to a Turkish side to play these really important matches. And so far, I've seen the rewards of it.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see. I'm going to go Copenhagen personally. Just personally, I love the way that they play. I love that the way that they've been playing over the last 4 or 5 years. This is the best Copenhagen side I've seen. So the fact that they've been able to actually reach this height, I'm just hyped for it.
It would be annoying though if they tie between each other and then Manchester United shows up and wins at Old Trafford against Bayern Munich and they qualify. That could very much happen because of the quality they have. And then the last game that I want to talk about that I do think has some meaning is Real Madrid facing off against Napoli. Real Madrid winning this game 4-2. Napoli got close, made a 2-2 game at one point, but then Real Madrid just completely took over. But for me, I'm looking at Real Madrid because to me, they're the third team that could contend for the title. Maybe even fourth if you want to throw in Atletico Madrid up to this point. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I do think they're one of the top 5 sides, Atletico. I think right now, the 3 contenders I'm seeing, or at least teams to potentially threaten Manchester City, would be Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, if there's any team that could do it.
I agree.
So I'm looking at them with the idea okay, let me see what you can do in these group stages that can add to that narrative, that can add to me maybe having more faith in you guys and potentially getting a result against a Manchester City. So far, I don't know if I've gotten that, I'll be honest, because they've done what I've expected out of them so far in the group stage. A pretty weak group stage overall with a dying Braga side.
Yeah. Union Berlin, they've tried,
but they've lost. Have they won a game this season? I think they're really struggling to get a single victory, but they've completely disappointed on all fronts within the league, but then also in the Champions League. And then a Napoli side who fired their coach, and we talked about before when the season had just started, that was not the same side we saw last year during their magical Serie A title-winning run.
Yeah.
So yeah, Real Madrid has won all their matches. They've done it in a solid fashion so far. But for me, the keys to Real Madrid being successful lie in the hands of Rodrigo. Because when you look at what Rodrigo has been able to do for his Real Madrid side, when he does show up, it just adds another element that makes them even more unstoppable. I mean, you look at the Champions League moments that he's had 2 years ago when they were able to knock off Manchester City. It was Rodrigo who came off the bench and scored 2 back-to-back goals that were immense, so important for them. But he has a problem with consistency, bro. He really does. I think Vinny is better in that department in the sense of showing up week in, week out, producing and constantly being a threat. I feel like Rodrigo can have those games where he just sometimes disappears. But what's made me really hopeful so far is that in the past 4 matches, I think, that he's played for Real Madrid, dude's been going off. He's been completely off. In this match specifically, he had an insane banger of a goal that's becoming his signature now when he cuts inside and finishes it off in the top right corner. I feel like I've seen that same Rodrigo goal over and over again, giving them the lead and then really proving to be a dangerous threat offensively. But then a guy like Brahim Diaz, who's actually found himself a bit of a home in Madrid and is a bit of a crowd favorite with his ability on the ball, his tenacity, his physicality, putting in really good minutes in this game. It's solid. It's good what I'm seeing from Real Madrid so far, but I don't think it's going to change the narrative for me because to counter the positives of these guys, you have a guy like Joselu, bro. Joselu mania in full effect this game, bro. Missing chance after chance after chance, but luckily was able to get a really easy one to go in. I don't trust the guy. I don't trust him at all. And I think overall for his Real Madrid side, I still don't see them. I still haven't seen enough in this group stage to push me into thinking that they can be a viable Champions League winner.
Joselu gives me major Emmanuel Adebayor vibes. Shout out if you remember that moment. Yeah. For Madrid, it gets tricky because you already pointed it out. They're in a very easy group. They should be winning these games. Even against Napoli. Like, I don't consider Napoli even a threat this season, considering the way that they've started, still haven't found the form, and are a shadow of what they were at their heights last season. You take that into account and how just good Madrid are and the talent that they have. Madrid wins against Napoli this version every time. Mm-hmm. So, and then you look at Union Berlin, and then you look at Braga. Those are easy wins for Madrid. So, honestly, I don't even know if you could put any criticism on Madrid for them not maybe dazzling because they haven't needed to. You know, I think they're having tougher times against mid-table La Liga sides, to be completely honest. Those are the games that where you should be looking to either be impressed or not. But it doesn't matter how good a team plays right now. I'm still gonna back City to lift this title. I just really am. Like even Bayern, who are, you know, actually in my opinion a way harder group, way harder. Even if they were to win every single game, I'd still back Manchester City, who are in a much easier group. So this gets weird, and this is the weird part of the group stage of the UEFA Champions League, right? This always happens. You know, it's luck of the draw. You either get a really easy group or a really tough group. Madrid got a really easy one, but going forward for Rodrigo, I really like the take because I think not only are Madrid better, and I mean like much better when he's on it, but he has to be on it now. This is Rodrigo's time, right? For the last 2-3 years, he's always been, you know, the 12th man, the guy that comes off the bench to provide impetus in the 60th minute. But now that some players have left Madrid, it's now Rodrigo's time to actually be that starter, but not just be that impactful player that gets a goal or a big goal every now and then. He's got to be the go-to guy on the other side of Vinicius Jr.
Yep.
So if he can get his reps in this season, which he already is starting to do so, even though he's still been a little bit inconsistent, it's only going to help his own career and Madrid overall. So yeah, I completely agree with the take because Rodrigo has to take the reins right now.
Yeah, you got Nicolas Paz right behind him too. Potentially. Hey, the youngster getting a goal in this match in his debut. That's the stuff of dreams. I'm going to just be honest with you. I mean, I've dreamt about that several times. Yeah. Scoring a winner for Real Madrid. Yes, I completely agree. If they can have a feisty Vinny, a feisty Rodrigo operating at 100%, then that's the ideal goal. But Vinny's injured right now, so Rodrigo has to step up. What is crazy in this discussion of Manchester City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich is that, dude, for the longest time, it was always the opposite way. The benefit of the doubt, no matter what these other teams were doing, would go to Real Madrid. Time and time again. It didn't matter how good Barca was in the mid-2010s. It didn't matter how good Juventus was looking. It didn't matter how good Bayern was looking. Real Madrid was so dominant in the Champions League that you just always had to give them that benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. But this is the first year, I think, where I truly feel that it has switched, because I think what Manchester City right now represents is low-key a potential dynasty in the making if they can win yet another back-to-back Champions League trophy. And the fact that even now, watching how Manchester City plays, you see what Bayern is doing, you see what Real Madrid is doing. I'm still going to give Man City the benefit of the doubt because I just see them as the best team in the world right now, man. And even though they went down 2-0 to Leipzig, and there was a moment where they could have lost the first game of the Champions League, the first loss between Bayern, Real Madrid, and Man City combined could have been Man City's, I still didn't doubt them, bro. And you saw what happened in that second match where they completely and utterly flipped it. We're going to sound hella pro Man City this next second half of the Champions League season, but it's for good reason, because I think this team is still the best one in the world, and I'm going to believe that until I'm proven otherwise.
What's funny about Real Madrid is they're technically in a transitionary period. and they're still considered title contenders. That's how good they are. And even though I'm backing Manchester City here, I'm just still so impressed at how good Madrid are.
Like on a business end type perspective?
Business end and result-wise. Like what they've put into their investments, they are getting it completely out.
Yeah.
And I'm so impressed with that because, I mean, I know it's controversial. I know people disagree with this, but I think Madrid have actually been not the go-to title contenders for the last 3 years, even though they won it 3 years ago against Liverpool.
Yeah,
right?
No, good point.
But even in that run, I was never fully convinced by this Madrid because that was the start of their transitionary period. And I don't think they've gotten out of that period. And the thing is, they're going in the right direction for sure, but I still think they're in a transitionary period right now. All that considered, they won a Champions League and they're still considered title contenders. So I have nothing but respect for Madrid because, my God, they're running their club so well. But I still have Manchester City as the best team in Europe.
I wonder what Bayern has to say about this, man. Like, I really want to see what Bayern team shows up come knockout stage time, because for me that's always a question for them. They're always, dude, the stat we've seen, they haven't lost a group stage match in years, bro. Like it's so hard now to even judge them based off their group stage performances because they dominate so consistently. What do they look like in the knockout stages? That's what I need to see, because I do think this is a really good Bayern side with almost every single piece they've lacked last year being fulfilled this year. I wonder what it's going to look like in a truly competitive, meaningful scenario and what Bayern team will see from. I think for Bayern specifically, I'm going to have to wait to see how they perform in that round of 16 and even probably until the quarterfinals, given who they match up with. But if it proves to be a really good performance, then they might be the second best team in the Champions League to challenge Manchester City.
100%. Bayern's performances the last 2 seasons, by Bayern standards, they've sucked. And because of that, I can't put all of my chips on Bayern this season, because I think they just got out of their transitionary period. And as you already said, they've fulfilled what they needed to fulfill in this last offseason, and it's working beautifully. This is the best Bayern team, I'd say, in like the last four years. And I think it's night and day how obvious it is. And because of that, I have them as title contenders. But over Manchester City, you know, honestly, even over Real Madrid, I don't know. I don't know. I think this Bayern as a club have not been in a tight, tense situation in the knockout stage for a while. So I think when it comes to that moment, we'll really see what this Bayern team is made of.
Dude, I'd love to see that in the knockout stage. Bayern, Real Madrid, like in the quarters.
Oh, that'd be dope.
That'd be dope. And then winner gets Man City.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that. After Man City beats Atletico.
And then the winner gets Atletico. We're going to be on the other side, bro.
You better be dodging them like crazy, bro. I'd be scared if I were you. It is pretty crazy looking back that Man City went through both these teams in their quest for their first Champions League trophy. It's kind of dope that they absolutely trashed Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, and then the semis did the same thing to Real Madrid, man. So I wonder if once we get that same matchup, what if we just end up seeing the same thing? Let's just Man City cooking once again, or on the opposite side, do we see a really competitive matchup, one that we truly didn't see Manchester City participate in until probably the final? I'm excited at the prospect of what might happen here, bro. And if someone ends up knocking off Man City, then it's floodgates. Anybody can win it, bro. That'd be crazy. That'd be an insane scenario.
We have such a fun knockout stage in store,
bro. I think so.
No matter what scenario ends up happening, it's just going to be crazy, because if Man City does do this exact same thing, then we are seeing a dynasty. We're seeing one of the best teams in modern football. And if they get beaten, it'll be in crazy style. I think it'll be in fabulous fashion, whether it's Madrid, whether it's Bayern, maybe it's Atletico, I don't know. But it's possible. It's possible this season, especially with City. Not that they've been inconsistent or weak, but they've just been weird. But they were also weird last fall, though. Let's not forget that. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, is that come February, I think Pep's going to be a little bit more focused.
Yeah.
Just like he was last year. And I think the players are going to be too, which is why no matter what, right now I still have City lifting the title.
That's why for me, I truly feel that this year the Champions League doesn't start until the knockout stages, because the group stages were so predictable to me overall when it comes to the contenders.
Yeah.
Bayern killed their group. Real Madrid killed their group. Man City killed their group.
Yeah, no big guys really struggled.
No, truly no. I mean, like, yes, we saw with the smaller sides like a Manchester United, but the ones that we labeled as contenders to start, they performed just like that. So I think the knockout stage will actually mark the official start of the Champions League. So let's go, bro. Let's go to the AFC Champions League to talk a little bit about what's happening over there in Asia right now.
Please, bro.
We're seeing equally as entertaining of a competition over there. And for me personally, bro, I've expressed on this podcast already that I'm a little uncertain of who my go-to prediction for who's going to lift this trophy is going to be, because I had selected Al Hilal, but then right after I made that prediction, Neymar got injured. Yeah. So I was interested to see how does Al Hilal perform the following weeks after, if they still perform in a title contending type of fashion, or if they drop a little bit in quality enough to where they aren't seen as favorites for this tournament, because they were runner-ups last year and have only built their squad even more. Well, I've been keeping an eye on them in both the league and the Champions League, but I watched them this week when they faced off against Navbahor, the Uzbekistani side that hasn't lost a game in the Champions League going into this match.
Neither had Al Hilal.
Whereas Al Hilal is undefeated in both the Champions League, but also the league, bro. The Saudi Pro League, leading the table right now above Al Nassr and continuing their run of really good results. And so I have to emphasize that, because I think that Al Hilal so far is looking really, really good. And I thought the prospect of this match would pose, somewhat of a challenge. And well, did it? It did not, brother, because Al Hilal could have scored 6 or 7 goals in this match, bro. An absolute blowout if they had been able to finish more consistently. I think they ended up winning 2-0 this game, but they absolutely dominated it. Navbahor just did not look up to the level of Al Hilal, and I thought that was notable because despite losing Neymar, the characters that this Al Hilal team has still stand out, man, and in a really kind of funny way, because, for example, Al Dosari is still very much the main man. And it's crazy how he's found himself in that role despite the players he has around him. At Saudi Arabia, he's the main man offensively. He takes the penalties. He's the focal point. But even with Al Hilal, with a team like that has guys like Malcolm, Ruben Neves, that has Mitrovic up front as well, Al Dosari still seems to be that guy, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Taking 2 pens in this game and missing them. But it didn't matter because he's that fucking guy. And I think overall, the way this team is playing, it doesn't look like they're missing Neymar at all so far, bro.
Nah.
I think the level that they can produce at is still very, very good and will still continue to be enough to be the best in Asia, only compared to what Al Nassr has. So I really do think both those teams will compete very tightly for the trophy. If one of them will make it to the final, and I think whoever does will be the one that wins, I think I'm going to officially solidify my prediction. I'm sticking with Al Hilal, bro. I'm sticking with Al Hilal, and I'm going with them as potential title winners.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good team to back. They're basically the Madrid of Asia. They just have that history of winning, especially over Al Nassr, even though Al Nassr is on the rise right now. So it's a hell of a pick, and it's a really good one. They still play incredible football, but they remind me, this team specifically, this year's version of Al Hilal, remind me a lot of kind of this year's PSG. A lot of stars, but they don't have any, balls to finish. Even against Mumbai, they only beat them 2-0. And then the other one, I think it was like 3-1, something like that. They created so many chances, but they're just pretty wasteful. They're going to have to fix that if they want to beat teams like Al Nassr or Al Ain, or maybe even like a more defensive side, perhaps like Persepolis or Sepahan. So I think Al Hilal still have a lot more to do. But if they crack it, then I think they could easily beat pretty much any team in the AFC. And then Salem Al Dosari, man, one of my favorite AFC players, honestly, probably of all time. It has to be. Yeah. Like the character that he's been, just the talent that he has on the ball, out and out winger, but loves to dribble, bro. Like I've never seen a guy dribble more than Al Dosari, man.
Is he the most iconic Saudi Arabian player, bro? Because
he's got to be.
Think about it, bro. Game winner against the World Cup champions to win the match 2-1. Yeah. Like his highlights are insane for both the national team, but then at the league level, he's a god, bro.
Yeah, he is. And the only thing that sucks about, and it's not even his fault, is that he's like 30 years old already. I'm super bummed because I would have loved to see him take the Saudi Arabian national team with all the players around him get better, and if he was just like 4 years younger, it'd be so dope to see. So he's gonna see the final years of his career right now. Maybe he takes Saudi Arabia to an AFC Asian Cup final this year, possibly. In January, that'd be really fun to see. But Al Dosari is just one of my favorite AFC players, 100%. Just to keep talking about AFC Champions League, though, I actually caught Al Nassr play against Persepolis. And a game ended up 0-0. There was an early red card for Al Nassr. It was completely justified. Ugly tackle. So they were down a man for basically 75 minutes, and they just kind of saw the game out. Persepolis couldn't take advantage of the man. Not really too surprising. Persepolis have such good ball possession. They have a really good midfield, but they just don't have that much conviction in their offensive line. And it really showed, especially since they were up a man. But, dude, here's the interesting thing about, the AFC Champions League in general, and specifically Al Nassr. In the AFC Champions League this year's edition, you can only have 5 foreign players on the entire 18-team sheet going into a match. So you could start 5 or you could start 4 and have 1 on the bench, for example, right? Al Nassr have 8 foreign studs. 8. So it's up to Luis Castro to decide which 5 he picks. Fuck, dude, that's actually conundrum. And right now in the group stage, it's not that big of a deal because they are much better than their opponents. But dude, going into those knockout stages, I wonder who he's gonna pick first, and then secondly, like if you don't get picked for a knockout stage Champions League game, I'd be fucking pissed. Yeah. I'd be like, coach, like the hell, you're picking me over, Alex Telles? Like, it gets really interesting here because some players might take it personally, and hell, even the coach might take it, like some decisions personally. It gets really interesting to list the A. Crazy. It's crazy to list the A because this honestly could be a fun game. Like, which 5 do you choose? At the back, there's Aymeric Laporte and then Alex Telles. In the midfield, there's Fofana, Marcelo Brozovic, and Otavio, the Portuguese.
Jesus Christ, that's already 5 together.
That's 5. And then up top, Cristiano Ronaldo, Sadio Mane, and then Talisca, Anderson Talisca.
Holy shit,
it's insane, dude. Honestly, I went through it last night. I was like, who the fuck would I pick?
Who did they start in that game?
In this game, Talisca wasn't chosen, so he went with Mane, Ronaldo, Brozovic, Laporte, and Otavio.
Okay. Ideal lineup, though. Let's go through it. Who are the 5s? Who are the 5? I think Laporte has to start.
He has to start.
Yeah.
Laporte has to start.
Fuck.
That's 1. You have 4 left.
4 left. 4 lives. Oh, Jesus.
I say you leave Alex Telles out.
Yeah.
I think you have to.
You can survive.
You can survive. The fullbacks that they have in position there, not that bad, honestly. They're pretty decent. Not as good as Al Hilal's, in my opinion, but they're decent. So there's Laporte at the back. In the midfield, though, this is where it gets tricky, man. I think you have to start Brozovic.
Yeah, he's been playing most.
Because he's the tempo setter for this team.
Yeah.
Every other pass goes through Brozovic in some form or fashion. He's like the go-to guy. I think he's played like pretty much every minute in this Champions League. There's no way he doesn't start. So already, Laporte, Brozovic. But now, do you play Otavio? Do you play Fofana?
Damn, and Otavio's Ronaldo's guy too.
Yeah. And what's interesting...
God, dude, Fofana's a stud.
Fofana's a stud.
Ah, man.
Yeah.
I think you play one more midfielder.
I think you do. Personally, I'd go Otavio simply because of the style that Al Nassr play, and I think he fits the style a little bit better than Fofana. Honestly, I think Fofana doesn't really fit into this team. I think he'd be better off with a different type of team around him. Fofana's a really driving force, but Al Nassr like to play kind of slick football. I think Otavio's more that style. So if I had to pick, I'm going Laporte right now, Otavio and Brozovic in the midfield.
So basically, Talisca or Sadio Mane.
Yep. Because Ronaldo has to start, and here's what's crazy, bro.
No, I already know where you're going.
I'm going Talisca.
Yeah, and I would go there too.
Because he's just more informed goal-wise.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Way more informed.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's crazy. Mane doesn't even get picked if they go to a Champions League final.
Holy shit, dude. That's insane.
But do you do that?
Yeah.
Do you do that as a coach? Like, do you tell Mane, hey, man, we'll celebrate with you when we come back to Saudi Arabia? Do you tell him
greatest player, Liverpool legend that's lifted the Champions League trophy himself. Meanwhile, Talisca hasn't achieved anything on the European scale. Getting the call up would be a ridiculous thing. And honestly, I think that's where emotions get involved, because I'm sure Sadio Mane was sold on the idea that he's still going to be the guy next to Ronaldo, that he will get those minutes, he will get those opportunities, and he's going to get a big boatload of cash as well. I don't know if a guy like Sadio Mane would be happy getting benched in a final of a Champions League where he can potentially get a trophy over a guy who is just Brazilian.
That's what's crazy. But I think Castro has to play 2 foreign midfielders. If he wants to give himself the best chance to win, he has to do that, because I think the gap between the next best Saudi Arabian midfielder and the next best Saudi Arabian winger, the gap is bigger in the midfield. So you need to have the midfielders foreign in. And because Al Gharib is the other guy that would play over Mane, I think he's good enough.
That's funny, man.
I
Just
think
some
he's good
random
enough.
Saudi Arabian slotting in.
I do like
God.
Obviously, he's nowhere near as good as Mane, but he's better than the Saudi Arabian midfield.
Yes.
Instead.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Dude, that's an insane narrative to follow now.
I know.
For all Saudi Arabian sides, I think Al Hilal faces the same issue, no?
So every Asian team faces this issue. Obviously, it's more apparent with the Saudi Arabian side because they have way more foreigners.
The contenders.
Real quick update. I just want to put this out there. Ventforet Kofu, the second division side. I want to repeat that. The second division side in the AFC Champions League just got a really good 3-3 draw against Melbourne City. Joint top of the table, but the table's tight.
That's the thing, but that's why it's important that they got the tie, bro.
They needed it, yeah. They needed it, and it was crazy. Like, they went down twice, were able to pull it back. 3-3 is honestly a really good result for this side, and now it all comes down to the last match, I believe, against Buriram, which is a pretty decent tie side, and yeah, so it's going to come down to the wire.
It's away from home.
It's away from home.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to the wire, but folks, if you have the time, tune in, because here at the Give and Go, we are very pro Ventforet Kofu, man.
I swear, it's gonna be heartbreaking if they don't make it to the knockout stages like this.
Because they would miss it just by an inch.
They missed it by an inch, and they led the table for the most part, but never convincingly. They just enough room for these teams to be able to jump back into what should be. And so Ventforet Kofu is trying to deal with history here. They're trying to break it, bro. And it could be incredible if they actually do. Yes, 3-3 result there. Last game I checked into was Incheon United against Yokohama Marinos.
Yeah.
I've heard the name Yokohama Marinos in the past. So I was interested in this game. I was like, okay, let's see how they do. They were in second place going into this game, but the match was at Incheon United. And Yokohama essentially did not show up. Just completely did not show up. I saw a team that was lazy, that was uninspired, and that low-key, Incheon United has their number, bro, because they played each other in the first leg, and Incheon United won 4-2, completely dominating them, and this time they were able to win 2-1 in really convincing fashion, going up 2-0, and then ultimately Yokohama scored a goal in the 83rd minute to make it 2-1, but in my opinion, it was meaningless. Incheon United is now in second place, whereas Yokohama is in third. Both have 9 points. But Incheon United's last game is against Kaya FC, who has Donut. 0 points in this group, whereas Yokohama has to face the best team, Shandong Taishan, with 12 points. I think Incheon will qualify through because of this result, and that's why I'm even more frustrated or just like pissed off at this Yokohama side, because in the game that mattered most, I saw a completely diluted team, and they did not show up in this match. So Incheon's probably going to go through, bro.
I'm glad you brought this up. Yokohama Marinos have pissed me off over the last month. I saw both of their games against Kaya, the Filipino side. God bless them.
God bless them.
And they barely beat them. And no disrespect to Kaya, but they should have handily dealt against this Filipino side, and they barely beat them. Credit to Kaya for like really making this Japanese team work for it, but those two games really showed me that Yokohama ain't about it. They're really not about it. And then even for Incheon, great result, sure. They had such a good start to this group stage, but their 2 games against Shandong, they got bodied. They got bodied bad.
There's a limitation on this team.
It was a limitation on this team, but it was so frustrating because the way they started the group, I was like, oh, okay, Incheon United might be one of the better teams in East Asia, and they let me down. They let me down. They'll definitely qualify. I'm with you at second place, but now I'm putting my eyes towards Shandong because they've really shown themselves to be a very gritty side that knows how to pull out some really good results.
And dude, I've been starving. I've been in the desert praying for just a drop of quality out of China in any sort of context.
Same.
Bro. Any sort of international, third division football. It doesn't fucking matter, bro. When it comes to soccer, China has constantly underwhelmed despite dominating so many other sports in the Olympics. Football, soccer, always seems to cause such a conundrum for the Chinese. I've been wanting to see something good come out of there. And they've birthed Shandong, bro.
That's what it is.
Topping this group, only losing 1 game so far. Let's see what they can do. Because if they can do anything that's notable, man, I'd be happy.
They have Marouane Fellaini. They have the Belgian old man finishing out his season, winning titles in China and trying to do something special in this Champions League in the Champions League run, which is pretty dope. He's a big feature for this team, honestly. He plays very well. And they have this Brazilian, I think his name is Crisan. I believe that's his name. I could be wrong, but he's Brazilian nonetheless.
Yeah, Crisan.
And he's pretty good, actually.
Okay.
Never seen him play before up until this Champions League this year, but he's got a hell of a boot on him, and he can finish some really good chances. So, honestly, Shandong, pretty good team.
I'm seeing 3 Brazilians, Moises Lima, the guy that you mentioned, Crisan, Mateus Pato, and then Jadson, a center back that's Brazilian as well. So, I mean, yeah, if you're China, I mean, this just, it's all China and then Brazilians and then a Belgian. So, I mean, dude, I want to see it. I really do. And fingers crossed, man, because we're already seeing some crazy stories in the AFC Champions League.
Dude.
We could have a crazy knockout stage, like matchups awaiting us because of the stories behind so many of these Asian teams.
Real quick, as we transition from Europe over to Asia, now let's transition over to Central America. The 2023 Central American Cup final just happened last night. Real Estelí hosted Liga Deportiva Alajuelense. Nicaragua versus Costa Rica in the league sense. And really interesting what CONCACAF is doing before I even get into the game analysis, because, they've altered the CONCACAF Champions League format basically every single year. There was the CONCACAF League, which was kind of like the Europa League. And then they split up the CONCACAF League into now the Central American League and the Caribbean League, which is actually kind of cool. Honestly, CONCACAF making some really good decisions. I think it started with the Nations League when they first tried that, 5 years ago now? And now they've done this where they basically give Caribbean sides and Central American sides their own Champions League. They get group stage, knockout stage, and then ultimately a final. And this version's first year sees Real Estelí, aside from Nicaragua, play against a very good Costa Rican side in Alajuelense Liga. And it was just really fascinating to see because, you really don't see, for example, a team like Estelí make a final.
Yeah.
You really don't see it. So the first game was held in Nicaragua, and the stadium was beautiful, man. The people showed up to support their Nicaraguan side, and honestly, a great game. Fantastic game. The first 30 minutes, super chippy. Both teams going at it. A lot of space to be exploited. And then finally, the class of Liga took over after basically the 35th minute. A really good goal from Navarro, and then 5-6 minutes later, a beautiful free kick from Michael Barrantes, 2-0 going into halftime. Second half sees another goal from Liga early on, and then a red card for Real Estelí. Ends 3-0, but damn, credit to Estelí. They had a really good performance, I think, all things considered, because, dude, Liga have some names, bro. Celso Borges, Johan Venegas, who actually didn't even play. They have Aaron Suarez, who's a pretty good Costa Rican prospect. Joel Campbell on this side as well. Giancarlo Gonzalez, Costa Rican legend at this point at the back. Liga got some names from the OGs from a Costa Rican perspective. So when you pit them against, their Nicaraguan counterparts, I think you kind of expect this. So congratulations to a really good 3-0 win for Liga. And the second leg will be next week in Costa Rica. Okay. I don't really see Estelí being able to do anything, but I mean, even congrats to them to make it this far into this tournament.
Damn, man, massive result for Liga. Then they're winners, serial winners on that team, and they continue winning. It's like the team of dads you face off against in Sunday League, and just because they were so good in their prime, they still have that class somehow, and they can body these younger teams no matter how electric they might be. They got the smarts. That's what it sounds like right now, man.
Absolutely, and just all things considered, when you look at how Central American football has been at the league for over the last 7-8 years, even I'll go that far. Costa Rican football has been the premier division in all of Central American football. Teams get close outside of it. Alianza has reached pretty good heights. Olimpia too. Yep. Even teams from Panama, Independiente, FC Tauro had a really good year one year. But just more consistently, who always ends up winning? It's usually a Costa Rican side, whether it's Herediano, Saprissa, in this sense, Liga. So I don't think you can be even upset if you're going for Estelí. You put up a really good fight, but Liga just, as you said, they're serial winners at this level, and they did it once again.
Let's go back to Asia real quick, where we have the U17 World Cup final set in place with Germany set off to face off against France.
Yeah.
Argentina was a penalty shootout away from repeating the 2022 World Cup final in the U17 World Cup context.
That's crazy.
Ridiculous, bro. Ridiculous. That honestly would have been concerning if that happened once again. Argentina. Last week I talked about when I highlighted Echeverri, the youngster signed to River Plate right now who had a hat-trick against Brazil to qualify to the semifinals. Well, this time we had a different youngster for Argentina get a hat-trick. Agustin Roberto getting 3 goals in this match, countering Germany's 3 goals as a team, pushing it to penalties, and the Germans end up on top. And on the other side, France having a close call against African side Mali.
Did you see that last-ditch save on the free kick from Mali?
I didn't see their matchup, bro. I just saw the score, man.
Dude. It was an insane free kick. Mali, it's like the 90th minute to try and equalize. He goes straight direct for goal. It is a fingertip save from the French goalkeeper. Fingertip. It goes off of the crossbar, bounces like on the line, but it bounces forward instead of back into the goal, and France are able to clear it.
I'm at the point where I'd consider that guy for the first team over Mike Maignan, bro. That's where I'm at. But hey, you were watching U17 highlights? That's different.
I actually saw the Argentina-Germany game.
What happened? I thought you were anti-U20 tournaments, bro.
No, I'm not anti. I just don't follow it. You'll
check in.
I check in, is what I usually do. But to go back to the Argentina-Germany game, Roberto's goals... really classy finishes. I was very impressed. The game itself, though, and this is just so U17, basically no midfield. It's just you get it to your offensive players and they just go. Yeah. So it's just back and forth, super entertaining, honestly. And yeah, it ended up being a really, really good game. A player I want to highlight for Germany who I thought had an excellent game, the number 10, Darvic. Really good player, very calm on the ball, but always looks for that through ball, and he's pretty accurate with it. So I'll be really interested to see where his career takes him. Honestly, I don't even know what club he's tied to, but I'll look that up right after this because I was very impressed with him. But Roberto too, super impressed, and Echeverri had an awesome game too.
Where Roberto's tied to?
I didn't look at any of these players where they're at, but Roberto I'm really interested in because his finishes were super instinctual, man.
I'm getting
super instinctual.
Yeah, I'm getting nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, they're still so young. Germany, France final, and all European final. I mean, the fact France is here once again, I think just goes to highlight our point that we made a few months ago. France has the deepest talent pool right now in all of world football. And it's just crazy that they can continue generating these players at the U17 level even to just continue to show how talented and deep they are as a country. And Germany, on the other hand, just also being able to do the same thing, maybe having their ups and downs at the first team level, but still having one of the best leagues in the world and having a really good foundation to build off of so they can develop these young talents. We have a European final waiting for us, bro.
Yeah, Germany, France, U17 World Cup final, and Indonesia. If I had to put my money on it, I'm going Germany. I'm actually going Germany in this one.
Okay, have fun with that, bro. I'm gonna go French here. Yeah. I'm gonna go French, but dude, these games anybody can win.
I know,
that's how I feel, man.
I know.
I was low key excited about Mali, man, because they got a big result against Morocco in the quarters. They killed Iran, and then getting a close game against France. I thought maybe they'd be able to do an African team in the final. Would have been dope, man. It would have been awesome.
They had some big chances too that they didn't put away. They honestly could have seen themselves in this final against France. Just luck was not on their side.
And correction, they did not kill Iran. They killed Mexico. They killed Mexico. That's similar colors. My fault.